Developing heart, the 4 pillars of an unbreakable spirit. Heart is difficult to define. If you ask me, it's that willingness and ability to push through perceived limits. It's what separates the highest performers from the rest of their peers. Some say that you can't teach heart. I've been pondering this for a while. Could it be true that you can't teach someone to push past their limits? I've come to think that it's untrue. You absolutely can teach someone to push through their limits. The following are what I believe to be the 4 pillars to that unbreakable spirit. Go towards discomfort. Comfort is one of the most dangerous addictions. Since the beginning of human existence, we've made efforts to survive through harsh elements and challenges. Our ingenuity and wit left us in a place where we could not only survive, but thrive. This thriving means increased comfort, and with time, our will to survive has likely begun to fade. It's not that we don't want to survive, it's just that it has become so easy that we can afford to live casually. This will for survival could have been applied to every endeavor that we find ourselves in. However, today we find ourselves in a population where some people are considered to have a lot of heart while others aren't. Part of me wonders whether the same people with no heart would be looked at in the same light if the situations they found themselves in were actually life and death. Probably not. They would probably find that same heart to survive deep down. Although we may not live in a life or death situation every day, I truly believe that we can simulate something close. We face uncomfortable situations that we avoid almost every day. What happens if we welcome them and find ways to seek success relentlessly? I truly believe that this is one way to redevelop a survival instinct, also known as heart, that we can use in every aspect of life. Use low-risk opportunities to uncover the shadow. As discussed earlier, we're quite lucky not to be in a life or death situation on a day-to-day basis. The dark places that humanity has gone to, both collectively and individually, has likely played a part in the species' sheer will to survive. It turns out that on the other side of maximal effort is a series of unknowns. Our ego, aka our shadow, is constantly convincing us that maximal effort means death. This isn't true in most cases today. It is, however, very convincing. So convincing that it convinces most of us to settle for mediocrity. On the other side of maximal effort is likely not death, it's discomfort. Being in low-risk environments provides us with the platform we need to push ourselves. Knowing that we'll come out of our experiment unscathed is useful in showing us that our shadow is lying to us in most cases. When we make friends with this shadow, we realize that it's necessary for us to survive, but not required in most of the scenarios that it rears its head in. Put pride aside. It's funny how a fear of failure actually hinders success. How is it that in an attempt to be successful, we've tried to avoid failure and become less successful? Instead of pushing past the fears of maximal effort, we just stop short. Perhaps it's because in knowing that we didn't give 100%, we have a way out. For example, if you lose an important game, you can turn around and say, "It's okay, I wasn't trying." This cop-out happens so often that it becomes subconscious. Think of it as the ego's way of attempting to save face. I think the underlying thought is that, if we don't risk failing miserably, sure we'll never be great, but at least we'll never be losers. This thought pattern clearly isn't one that leads to success. Putting our pride aside will ensure that we develop grit and heart. If we don't fear the outcome, we'll always give everything our best shot, regardless of the challenges in our way. Focus on execution and surrender to the outcome. Our fear of the outcome has us neglecting the execution. Instead, we need to focus on the execution and surrender to the outcome. Every great coach has mentioned that as being part of good coaching. I like to think of our conscious awareness as a kind of personal coach. If this coach can turn attention away from worrying about what if to focusing on what needs to be done, we'll have the bandwidth to focus on pushing through the challenges at hand. Heart is something that makes someone relentless. Focusing on the immediate challenge and refusing to be denied. As the situation evolves, one thing stays constant in someone with heart. They focus on solving the difficult problems at hand without showing signs of quit. Whatever happens, happens. All that matters is the assurance that we gave every situation everything we had, both through effort and through applied knowledge. Integrating heart. Making heart a part of our personality is not an overnight project. It requires a reprogramming of developed habits. The necessary first step is to be willing to do what it takes to acquire this quality. Personally, I'm working on applying these principles in one place. I haven't mastered them by any means, but I'm already starting to see improvement. I'm also starting to see how transferable this skill is across all domains of life. Apply the principle in one place and then observe how they apply everywhere. When these principles become normalized, they become second nature. When they become second nature, they reflect a personality full of heart. If you enjoyed this article, you can find more like it at www.banafit.com. That's www.banafit.com. Thanks for listening.